pop up. And then once you see it pop up, just press share, and it should be probably up in about the next couple of seconds. Now, here we go. All right, so I'll take it that we're live, and we're joined by Caley Reece from Riddler's Gym, 6-time world Muay Thai champion. I noticed something. Did you see it come up?
No, not yet.
Don't worry. Just take your time. It'll pop up in a sec. I saw on your Instagram before we tried to do a podcast and failed to do a podcast, and the equipment failed. So those of you that were trying or expecting to watch this podcast last week, I apologize. I got there set up. We were good to go, and not a thing.
Not a thing happened.
The computer decided to go kaput. The cameras went kaput.
Everything froze.
Yeah, the only thing that worked was that fan that we were using for aircon, I think, in the end. But
this room's a lot cooler than that, so
it is now, isn't it?
It's kind of a good thing, I guess.
It's well, welcome for a start. Finally,
Thank you.
Third attempt, maybe. I'll put it down as third because I think we were deciding to do one at one point.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
Something
I think it was
happened.
work or sick. I think I got sick a couple of weeks ago, and then what happened last week? So I'll put it down to third time lucky. It's meant
We're
to be,
here.
right?
Yeah,
It's a
meant
good
to be,
effort.
yeah.
It's the hardest working podcast I've ever done.
Plus, I had to come in and touch your wall to make sure that it was actually wallpaper, not
and you
not real
stroked the
brick.
wall. That's come up a few times as well. Now, I noticed on your Instagram you joined the Cool Club.
Yep,
And you purchased tickets to come and watch Metallica.
I did.
Open up by Slipknot. I saw
did.
that pop up. So
I
we
don't
got
know
ours
much-
as well.
I don't know much about Slipknot.
No.
I do know about them. I know that they're very heavy and probably more heavier than what I would listen to, but can't go past Metallica.
No.
You got to see Metallica.
I went to see AC/DC on their final concert.
Yeah,
And that was off the hook.
yeah.
That was
I didn't see
amazing.
that.
And I'm expecting that
That
Metallica's
Metallica's
going to be
the same, yeah.
fantastic. They got so many famous songs.
Have you seen them before?
No.
I've seen them a couple of times, like at the big day out and stuff like that, just with other acts and stuff. And they're awesome.
They're going to rock it.
Yeah.
But the Optus, have you been to a show in Optus yet?
I went to Ed
Because-
Sheeran.
Oh, did you? How was
Yeah.
that?
It was good. That was the first one there, so I don't know whether they've made some tweaks and stuff like that. But, I mean, people were complaining about the sound going through the top of the roof and stuff like that. But
We noticed it with
I'm just,
Eminem.
I'm just happy to see people like that live, you know. Like, it's very rare that you get to see such class acts like that.
Yep.
So I don't really get down to the nitty-gritty of sound and perfection like that.
We went to see Eminem,
Yeah.
and we got stuck. It took us an hour and a half to get in the stadium.
Oh, it's so hard, isn't it?
It was ridiculous. We got in, but yeah, okay, it's a huge place. We couldn't see much.
Yeah.
He
about
is
getting out?
He's fantastic. And then getting out was
Getting
a
out.
mission on its
Mission.
own. Oh my God.
It's like you almost have to give yourself like a couple of hours. I mean, and you guys live here too,
Yeah.
so you'd have to give yourself like a few hours to get home.
Well, we walked to the city
From where?
from
From
Optus.
there?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
It was quicker. There was no other way. The queues
Yeah.
for traffic, the queues for the trains.
And the
It
taxi
just looked like another
services-
concert was going on.
Yeah.
And the taxi services, there was people bloody scrapping outside of there. And
Yeah. Like
Jesus Christ.
everyone's
Yeah.
scrounging for a spot in a taxi.
Yeah. So it's good to see, Kate, on your Instagram that Parenthood hasn't slowed you down at all, and
No.
you're constantly training and posting videos of CrossFitting, lifting,
Yeah.
kicking.
Yep.
Yeah, you're going for it. So
Gotta keep busy. You can
what's
rest when you're dead.
driving you to do that now? You've got limited time, I'd imagine, as a parent of two.
Look, I just like training just to be fit and healthy. I've always trained and I've always been involved in sport from such a young age. I started basketball when I was 5, and I played up until I was maybe 17 or 18. So I've always been involved in sport and pushing myself and competition and stuff as well. So I guess it's just in my life now. Like, it's just something that is me. And I wouldn't even say that I'm a motivated person. I'm just a disciplined person that just loves to train. And now that I've got the 2 kids, it's even more of a, I guess, I just want to be fit and healthy for them as well, because I've got them watching me.
Yeah.
It's a good role model for, like a strong and fit woman in their life. And I just look at them and I just think I just want to be fit and healthy for them now as well. As for myself, but yeah, for my kids too. Like, I want to live a long and healthy life so I can be around them for as long as I can as well. So that's one of my driving factors at the moment, is just to be strong and healthy for my kids as well.
Okay, so you've got a drive for it, and you're still competing with a bit of CrossFit, I saw.
I am, yeah. And, like I am a competitive person. I love to compete. It's what we were just talking about before when you were saying with your podcast and stuff, you get that little bit of nervousness and that fire within your belly. I love that feeling, and anyone that's competed in any sport at any level knows what that nervousness feeling feels like, and it becomes addictive. So it's just one of those things that I don't think I'm ever going to be able to stop, really. Like, I'm always going to be looking for something to compete in, and that's the beauty of CrossFit for me at the moment as well, is there are so many different competitions all the time. You don't have to be like a professional. You can just go into these little competitions and you still get that feeling of nervousness and butterflies and competition, which I think for me is super important.
Yeah, I get the same feeling.
Yeah.
Like I said, we did discuss this earlier, and it's about being outside your comfort zone in something, I think. And yes, the only time you grow.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can take yourself out of where I feel safe, plonk myself somewhere in those butterflies and the knots I get. I had them since, well, even to do this with you today, I had it from maybe 11, 12 o'clock. It was starting to kick in. And we're only going to sit here and have a conversation, but it's a simple thing.
Yeah.
Not a physical activity. I don't compete physically in anything anymore, unless it's a bit of football on a Sunday. And it's just, but I think it's imperative, because afterwards you feel so good.
Yeah.
You still get endorphins released.
For you too, you're sitting here asking somebody you don't know questions, and I'm sitting here talking to somebody I don't know and telling them my answers as well. So it's like you do get that kind of nervousness as well.
It's strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you can still get nervous off little things like that, considering the things that you've done.
Definitely. I'd probably get more nervous about something like talking about myself than I would going into a fight.
You think?
I think so.
Why is that?
I don't know. I feel like in a fight.
A bit vulnerable, or?
I don't know. It just feels so clear in a fight. Like there's nothing going through my mind. I don't have any thoughts.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
Everything's blacked out and you're focused on that one task.
So I do get a little bit nervous during the day, but I guess with more experience, as the experience grew, I was able to control it a lot more. So it was just kind of like a normal day. But yeah, in the ring, I guess that's something else we can talk about, is just that pure clarity. There's no time to be nervous.
I listened to a podcast with Mike Tyson on the way to the car to work this morning and on the way home, and he said exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
He said he gets more nervous now when he has to get up on stage, and he does this Mike Tyson live thing, doesn't he? Where he gets up and he talks about his life and all the crazy stuff and the crazy shit that he's done over the years.
Yeah.
And he said he's now more nervous doing that than he ever was getting into a boxing ring, because he was confident going into that ring that he knew exactly what he was going to do, how he could do it.
I was just about to say
he was the animal.
He's trained in that every night, and that was the same. I'm comparing myself to Mike Tyson or anything, but every night in the gym we're doing the same thing, so we're confident in what we're doing, but not every night we're talking about ourselves for an extended period of time. So it just comes down. When
you talk about yourself, isn't it? It's vulnerable. You leave yourself quite vulnerable to do it.
Yeah.
It's not easy to do. I think we said before that everyone's heads are now so far in phones, it's easy to post a picture and quote something. But when someone asks or sits down and has a conversation, it's like a skill we're losing.
Don't talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's like we're losing the skill, we're losing the ability to communicate like that anymore.
Exactly, yeah.
Really weird. Instagram, Facebook, I keep saying it. I'm sorry if I bore people saying it, but I think it's a slippery fucking slope of
I agree.
What like my girlfriend, she did work in childcare for years.
Yeah.
And kids are getting bad necks, bad backs, communication skills are declining because they're constantly hunched over, looking down, and parents give iPads, go look after, keep Johnny quiet in the corner, have an iPad, and it's just fucking them up. Something
that Daz and I as parents, we're very aware of that kind of thing. Like we made the decision when before Maddox was born, that we weren't going to have him have any kind of device up until obviously they need them at school and stuff like that, but he hasn't had like an iPad or a phone or anything like that, and it is bloody hard at times. But
it shouldn't be hard. It shouldn't be hard for a kid to not have it.
Oh, it's hard for us sometimes, like when we're like at lunch or at breakfast or something, and he's like in everything. It would be so easy to just go, mate, here's the phone. Here's the wiggles on the phone, and it would shut him up. He'd sit there. We could eat our breakfast in peace, and that would be our little date. But yeah, we've just made that decision from the
good decision.
Before he was born. Like there was going to be no iPads and no phones. Like he has a bit of TV, he watches it for maybe half an hour, and then he's off playing with his cars and whatever. But he's been a pretty much device-free kid since he's been born. So we're pretty happy with that, with how that's going.
He'd be kicking pads before long anyway,
want him to be able to have conversations with people. Yeah. We want him to look people in the eye and ask them how they are, and ask them how their day is going and all that kind of stuff. And he does that now, and he's only like 2.5 years old. So he'll walk into the gym and he'll say, "Hi, rah, rah, rah. Hi, Joyce."
Confidence. Yeah,
he doesn't mind. He doesn't mind it at all. Like he'll go up to somebody and have conversations with him. He's not like this on his phone or on an
It's
iPad.
good. The real world is in front of him. Isn't
Yeah.
it? It's not in a bloody device.
Yeah.
Now, who's the youngest?
Leo.
Leo's the little
He's the
little
baby.
dude,
Yeah, he's a
and
little
Maddox
dude.
is the guy that's a little bit older.
Yeah.
Now, the training while pregnant is the thing that keeps coming up. When you asked on Instagram, you asked your followers questions, a lot of them were about this, right?
Yep.
So there's obviously a lot of women who followed that.
Yep.
With Maddox, were you training with Maddox to the intensity that you were with Leo? Because I only picked up on this with Leo because
Yep.
I saw everything that came along with that.
Yeah.
Now with Maddox, was it the same? But you just didn't put it out on Instagram, or didn't? What happened?
Oh, it came out.
That's the one that kicked it off, was it? It was the first time.
Yeah, like so. I pretty much for the first 3 months. It took us a long time to fall pregnant. It took us about 3 or 4 years, and I don't know whether that was because I was still fighting, so I was still training a lot, or whether there was some sort of imbalance. Whatever. It took us 3 or 4 years. So when I did fall pregnant, I was a little bit conservative in that first 3 months because I was a bit.
Yep.
I don't know. I guess protective of the fact that this has finally happened, and I don't want to lose it.
That's the most detrimental time as well.
Yeah, it's the most detrimental time. So I still trained, but I just backed it off. Like I wore a heart rate monitor to make sure that my heart didn't go above a certain heart rate and stuff like that. So I was a bit conservative within that first 3 months. But when that passed, I still pretty much went back to training as normal, but just didn't have the same intensity.
Yep.
So I still kicked pads. I still did CrossFit. I still ran up until I couldn't run, which was about 25 weeks. I mean, some people can run right up until full term. I personally couldn't. Still ran, still did all the same things, but I just really lowered my intensity with stuff. And there's a few videos that went around on Facebook because I still had an athletes page at that point. So there was a video that I was kicking pads and I was 39 weeks pregnant, and I was going, to me, it was so slow. Like I could almost do it in my sleep. But it shook up like a big time. Like people were calling me like a child abuser, and I should be going to jail for child abuse, and my baby's going to end up retarded and Down syndrome and all these really nasty things.
What kind of people were saying this? Did you notice? Did you look on their profiles and take a nose? Was it just?
I did have a quick look. Like I had a look, and I did notice that the majority of the comments, and this is nothing, the majority of the comments did come from men, and I guess that's just them not understanding the female body, possibly. I'm not sure why they were coming from men, but they were. So yeah, that was quite bad at one point. Like there was one video that just copped a lot of shit.
That was the one with Daz holding the pads and you were kicking.
He was holding the pads,
it?
yeah. So I was about 39 weeks pregnant at that point.
But there's people don't understand, if you've been doing that for years, the muscle memory in order for you to do that is nothing.
Exactly. And people were saying, she's going to go fight. And I'm like, I'm actually not fighting. Like, do you know what fighting is? Because this is not fighting.
You wouldn't have made weight for a start, would you?
No, I'd be heavyweight.
I think men doing that's, I'm sat here trying to get my head around why men would kick up a stink on that. Maybe they felt challenged by that. I don't know.
I don't know if it was that or whether they just don't understand maybe what the female body feels like when it's pregnant.
Poke their noses in a scenario that they wouldn't know anything about, in my eyes. I wouldn't.
Well, I don't know.
That's a strange one, yeah. You caught me out with that one, saying that guys were coming. I thought it'd be women being...
The last pregnancy with Leo, I had these people saying that I was faking my pregnancy and that I was wearing I guess you would call it like a body shield, like that they wear in movies and stuff like that, like a body shield, and I was faking my pregnancy, and I was like, I had a different coloured stomach to what my legs were, and my stomach wasn't moving when I was training, so it was fake, and I was just like...
It's still fake with the baby pictures, is it?
Yeah. It's just, I don't know.
That's unbelievable.
Some people have...
So how do you cope with the pressures of that? Because you've got a lot of followers on Instagram, so... That's down to the fight. You don't do the Instagram. What do they call it these days? Where people influence. Mm-hmm. So you're not into that side of it, right?
Not really.
With all those followers, they just happen to follow because they know Caley Reece. So how do you not intentionally put yourself into that environment of having thousands of followers, but then when you put something up that is positive, and you get a whole bunch of
to me,
and to most people it would be. How do you cope with the negativity that fires back? Because that people get these little highs off their Instagram post, don't we? You get how many likes or whatever happens. The opposite people don't think about.
Yeah.
is when shit goes wrong and people start slating you, giving you a hard time.
Yeah.
It's like that could be the complete opposite to getting that little buzz.
Look, to be honest, I guess with having such a long career in fighting, comments like that have been thrown around me for a long time. So, and in the beginning when I was getting like negative comments about fighting or anything to do with fighting, it did bother me a little bit. And it does pull a few heartstrings, but I think over time you do tend to get a little bit tougher. So by the time I was pregnant with Maddox and seeing what people were writing, it was just like water off a duck's back. I was like, oh, they're just haters, you know. But I do admit there was a couple of times where I was sort of like thinking to myself, are these people right? Like, am I going too hard? Like they were making me question myself, which I shouldn't have been because I felt confident in what I was doing and what I was doing was right for me. But because so many people were saying it, I was starting
surrounded by it then.
I was starting to think, am I actually doing the wrong thing? Like, is there going to be something wrong with the baby? But then I'd have to say to myself, no, Caley, that these people are just getting on the internet. They don't know what they're talking about. They're not trained. They're not medical in a medical field or anything like that. You've just got to trust yourself and believe what you're doing is the right thing for you and the right thing for your child without taking it to heart too much. But what I was just saying to you then about that page where they were saying that my pregnancy was fake and stuff, I was just in absolute shock that there would be people that would actually believe that kind of thing. Like, why would you fake a pregnancy? It's probably the shittest feeling in the world, you know, taking away all of the things that I could normally do and then faking it to feel like shit every day and to feel sore and then get bigger and like,
There's conspiracy theorists out there.
I was reading the comments and I was saying to Daz,
a conspiracy theorist.
This shit out, you know, like people actually think that this is fake.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's crazy. So those comments didn't bother me because I thought that they were hilarious. But when people start to say things like, oh, you're gonna damage your baby's not surrounded by enough fluid for that kind of exercise, you start to think, are these people right? But I knew deep down that it was the right thing.
Did the doctors advise you on any of this? Because the big thing, like I'm not a father, I've never been through that.
They just say you can still
hypertension and weight loss. Sorry, is what I was going to go. Weight gain when pregnant. Yeah. Now that's women's main concern, isn't it? Gaining weight. But a lot of women then turn around and say, "Well, I got to eat for two." But you don't really.
You don't have to eat for two.
A baby's a little dude. He's not having a.
You don't have to eat for two.
No. So a doctor would then advise aqua aerobics, a walk, a stroll in the park, keep active. But it is what you did was above and beyond that. So when you talked to your doctor about what you were doing, what was their reaction to it?
They just said just to go at a pace that you feel comfortable with, obviously.
Which is above most, isn't it?
It is above most, but the thing is, I'm used to that. So the pace that I was going at prior to pregnancy, which was pretty hard, to tone that down to 50%, that to somebody else would still look relatively hard. But to me, it was only 50%. So it didn't feel like it was even close to being 100%. So they basically just said just to tone it down a little bit from what you were doing. That's 50% to me.
And now you've gone 100% and you've caned it and you're back after 11 weeks, is it? 12 weeks? We're going to 12 weeks?
It'll be 12 weeks on Tuesday.
And you've hammered it back into shape.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah, like I feel like this time I've actually got back into it and recovered a lot quicker than the first time. I don't know whether it was because my body had remembered what happened. You know, we were talking about that muscle memory before and just memory of things in the body. But yeah, I feel like I've bounced back not bounced back because I've put in some bloody hard work, that I've come back a little bit quicker this time. But also in saying that, I think I trained harder with Leo than what I did with Maddox. So.
Okay.
Yeah. I still kept doing, I probably did more movements and harder pad work and things like that with Leo than what I did with Maddox. I think because I was maybe a little bit more nervous being pregnant for the first time.
Yeah, okay.
Than I was for the second time.
Next time you thought we'd blast it, so don't have another one. We'll go back a few years here if we can.
Yep.
When you started this whole thing off.
What thing?
This whole Muay Thai.
Oh, yeah.
That is the thing.
Going back to that thing,
that thing. You got off to a rocky start.
Mm-hmm.
So that championship mentality must have been embedded in you somewhere.
Yeah.
So to kick off a sport, in any fight sport.
Yeah.
And am I right in saying it was 4 losses straight off the bat?
It was three losses, and I think a boxing fight loss. But
Right.
I can't really put that boxing fight as a loss because I dislocated my shoulder. But I did lose. I didn't get the win. So I'd say like 3 or 4 losses in a row. Yeah.
Yeah. So what the hell drives someone to go into a ring, lose 3 or 4 on the bounce, and then say, "This is for me. I can do this. I'm good at this." They actually made a comedy in Friends. Do you remember that? When was it Monica? She started dating that guy, and he said, "I want to be UFC champion," and he was a multi-billionaire company owner. He said, "I can do anything in the world. I can do anything I put my mind to."
Oh, really? I don't know.
And he goes into the cage and gets his ass kicked, and he like refuses to quit doing it.
Stuff this, I'm going to go again
So
and again.
what the hell made you keep going? Not to say it was a pretty good decision looking back, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a good
But,
decision.
most people would quit with four losses like that.
Yeah, I guess my losses were with another trainer. That there were 3 of them, and then I came to Daz, and I had my first loss with Daz. But I fought a girl that was like quite good at Muay Thai. Before I went to Daz, I was more kickboxing, so I didn't really know how to grapple, clinch, and knee and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So when I went to Daz, I'd only been with him for about 2 or 3 months before I had my first fight with him, so I still really didn't know how to grapple that well. But we took this fight in Queensland, and the actual stand-up, like the kickboxing part of it, we were pretty even, me and this girl. But she just beat me in the grapple. But Daz had said to me, I feel like you are going to be a champion. Like, you can be a world champion if you want. You've got the
He
stand-up.
saw something that early.
He said it in like the first month.
Jeez.
Yeah, he sat me down in the gym and said it to me.
Interested to see what
Yeah.
he saw. You asked
I
him?
don't know.
You spoke to him about that?
I guess he just there wasn't very many girls around when I was like, I don't know how long ago this was now. It's like 2005 or something maybe.
Okay.
And there was the amount of girls fighting back in those days wasn't very many. So I guess he knew the kind of quality that you had to be up there. And he just sat me down and said, "You can be a world champion if you want to be." And I guess I just took trust in that if he said it, then it was possible. It was possible, you know, like he was my trainer, and why would he bullshit me? And I just had to take it as.
So at what point did you start to believe that, I could do this?
It's really funny because I never actually had that thought, that specific thought. I just took each step as they went. Like I won a state title, and then I was like, on to the next. I want to win an Australian title.
Yep.
And then once I did the Australian, I wanted to win the next one, and just went up like that, rather than just aiming bang straight for the top.
But there must have been a pivotal point where you thought, I'm onto it.
I'm onto it.
You can't remember anything.
Not a pivotal
Was it
moment.
a fight? Was there someone that you fought
Not really.
that was up there that maybe you looked at beforehand?
Not really, because I just took them fight by fight. I really just honestly
Jesus.
did. I never
Killer
thought.
mentality.
I never
Just line them
thought-
up.
You just line them up. But that's the thing. I actually did line them up in my head and on paper. I had them lined up. Like I had all my opponents that I knew I had to beat to get to the next level. So once I won my state title, I had a list of people that I knew I had to fight to win the Australian title. Then that got crossed off. And then the next one was, what do I need to do to get to the Intercontinental? Fought those people. That got crossed off. And then it was just went from there.
You literally lined them up. You
I
literally
lined
did
them
line
up.
them up. Now, the physical battle is one thing, but the mental battle, and I'm sure I've read somewhere that you had a sports psychologist working with you at some point, which intrigues me because I put a post out of what people would like, who someone or field that someone might like to hear on here as a guest, and a lot of people said sports psychologist. So I'm in search for one. So if you know of any in Perth, hit me up after. We'll have a chat after this and maybe line me with someone.
I mean, the guy that I used, he's the Australian cricket team psychologist, and that's how I got onto him. Was I used to work for, I don't know if you follow cricket. Do you follow cricket?
No.
Justin Langer, anyway. He's a cricketer. He's now the Australian cricket team coach. I used to work for his brother. And so I had some shoulder surgery done after my 6th or 7th fight, and I felt like still really nervous to fight after I'd had this surgery. Like it was still going to keep popping out when I was training and fighting.
What did you do to it?
I used to just pop out all the time. So I'd throw a punch, or I'd be in the grapple and it would just roll out of its joint and stuff like that. So I got it fixed. Basically, that was another thing. I had my shoulder dislocations, and Daz said, "Look, there's 2 ways you can do this. You can not fight and have your shoulder the way it is, or you can go and get your shoulder fixed and make a career out of it. So then I decided to get the surgery and make a career out of it. So anyway, I spoke to my boss, and he said my brother's got an awesome sports psychologist. And so I got onto him about getting over this mental thing that I have had going with my shoulder. Like I just had it in my head that every time I was going to train or fight, it was just going to pop out again. So he really helped me overcome that hurt.
Feeling.
I know, it's horrible. That's horrible because it's happened in a couple of fights too. So I just had that memory, like I had it linked to that specific time. So if I was in the grapple in a particular move, I had that link to I've dislocated my shoulder in this move before, and then all of a sudden it would just
pull out of it.
Yeah, it would just create so much fear for me. So I got onto this sports psychologist, and he really helped me overcome linking that fear with the injury. And I saw him for every fight from like my 7th fight right up until the very end.
And what kind of things they do with you?
We just spoke about different things like how to talk to yourself when you're training, being in the absolute present, like in a fight, just things like that, like visualization techniques, how to visualize. And I'd go to him like 2 or 3 days before a fight, and he would literally put me into a state of hypnosis, and he would take me through the whole thing. I'd be driving to the venue. I'd get to the venue. I'd get my rub down. I'd get my hands wrapped, and I could smell. He like activates all your senses, so I could smell like the liniment, and I could feel the hand wraps going on, do the walk out to the ring, seal the ropes, and then he would basically tell me how I was going to fight. He wouldn't even say anything about the other person. It would just be purely on how I was going to fight, and then my hand being raised at the end, and then all the stuff that happens after a fight as well.
There's so many interesting things I've heard about sports psychologists.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated. I'd love to get one on. A mate of mine had one working with a football team over east.
Yeah.
And this psychologist came into this to this football team, and he basically sat them all down. This is a third-party story, so I'm trying to remember this.
Yeah.
And said, what is, say it's a football team. He said, what makes one of your team members a good team member?
Yeah.
They say he's punctual. He trains hard. He's always on time. He stays behind after training, practices kicks, blah, blah, blah. And they said, now, of all the things that we've listed up here, tell me where you fit into those categories.
Yeah.
Do you turn up on time? Do you stay behind after practice and do more?
Yeah.
Are you supportive of something if something goes wrong? And then they started to look at themselves, and they went on and did really good things. And the guy actually goes off, and he's coach of some Australian team now, whether it's the Australian football or rugby, where he's gone. But that to me was an interesting way of looking at it. It made, what do you believe to be a good team member? And then reverse the question.
Yeah.
Where do you fit into that?
Yeah.
Shit. I bet a lot of people will sit back and think, especially if you're a team, I know he's the one who turns up early, and he's the one who stays late, and he's the one who picks us up when we're down. And what do I do?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
what do I do?
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk to one.
I truly believe that having that, my sports psychologist was like my secret, almost one of my secrets anyway. Like I
can believe it.
I believe that was like just one of those things that a lot of other people didn't have, and because of that just gave me that little bit of an extra edge. You can be as fit as you want and as tough as you want, but if you don't have that mental, it's not even mental strength, it's just mental smart, I think, then you're going to be
knowing how to control that energy.
Yeah,
because you can knack yourself.
You can.
Before you start.
And I've seen it happen so many times.
Adrenaline dump.
And I've seen, you know what else I see a lot of too, is I see people in training, they're doing something particular in their session.
Yep.
And then they'll do it exactly the same in the ring. Then they say they're not going to do it, but it always happens because they haven't been able to mentally change it.
Separate themselves from that thought. They focus on that thought, whether it's a positive or negative. If
becomes
you
a habit.
Fixated, easy habits are formed, easy broken hard, aren't they?
Yep. Yeah.
Now, women's fighting, since you started to where it is now, is completely changed.
Yep. I kind of wish I was.
I was going to say that.
Started a bit. I was kind of wish I was a bit younger and I'd started a bit later.
But it has taken off.
It's
and
really
a lot of it
taken off.
In my eyes, has come down to things that the UFC have put forward.
Yeah.
Like they've really promoted women's fighting.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have transferred across from Muay Thai. Like Shevchenko, was it the Bullet? Valentina, you've fought her as well.
Yep.
So they've gone across there, and she did great things. But the UFC obviously grabbed her, did the old sexualization of women athletes like everyone does, and pumped it out. But the quality of fighting with the women now, they're pay-per-view events, and I pay for them. I will pay to watch
a women's fight,
Cyborg against Nunes, and I know they're going to be great fights. They're up there. They're literally, in my eyes, on par with the men.
Yeah.
Without question. Yeah. And years ago, it was unheard of. You still had these people saying, I don't want to see a woman. It's not ladylike to get punched in the face.
Yeah.
We want equal rights. And
yeah, exactly.
take your pick. But to me, it's fascinating. And I'm really grateful because it opens up the sport to so much more. We had Sarah Dwyer on the other week. I love going up to Thunderdome watching her box and going off for world titles. We've got Lulu Horton in Perth as well. She's out just winning her second WBC boxing title. Yeah. It's great to see women are achieving great things.
Like I was saying to you before, like when I first started, we had a magazine called the International Kickboxer. Do you know that magazine? No. It was like obviously a kickboxing / Muay Thai magazine, and that was like the gospel, like the Bible for combat sports. We didn't have Facebook and we didn't have Instagram and all that stuff at the start of my career.
Oh, we are going back in the day.
Yeah, we're going back in the dark ages.
Before mobile phones.
Yeah, before. No, not before mobile phones. I'm not that old. But we had this magazine, and you would flick through this magazine, and you'd be lucky to find like one article on a female fighter. It just wasn't looked upon, and just over the years, they gradually started dripping in little articles, and then features, and then more fighters on the fight shows and stuff like that. And now, as you say, like some UFC and some glory fights and stuff like that, their main event is a female fight, which is like, I just think back to when I started, that just never would have happened.
No. And they've done
some people didn't even want to train females.
Well, they've done it quick in the UFC.
Well, I guess once that decision's made in the UFC, that's it, isn't it?
They don't mess about.
No, they don't mess about. They've got
and they're still new.
Yeah,
they're still really, in comparison to boxing and everything else, they're bloody new. And it wasn't long ago that we were watching it, and it was still a bit illegal, and they weren't sure if we were allowed to do this, and people are still wearing gis in there, and and suddenly, 20 years later, women are headlining it.
Yep,
earning big money. Now, if you had your time when you're saying you're going back, would you have considered going down the MMA route, or were you mad hooked, loved on your Muay Thai?
I absolutely love Muay Thai. That's my passion. Would I have gone down the MMA route? How old are we talking? Give me an age.
Oh,
if I was,
I don't know, if you were 28 to 30,
probably
somewhere around there.
Probably.
Because the women have been very successful in bringing that
and
aspect across to the UFC.
I guess where I was at with Muay Thai too, there wasn't really too much further for me to go. I'd fought the majority of people that I wanted to fight. So changing over to something like MMA would have been a possibility, because it would have been a new challenge for me.
Yep.
Would have opened up a whole new door for me, new opponents, new strategy of fighting and all that kind of stuff. So possibly, yeah.
That's what Holly Holm did. She came across as the boxing. How many world titles did she win at the boxing?
Oh, I don't know how many world titles.
Shitload though, wasn't it? And she's brought that across to.
I guess she's probably doing what I just said then. Like she just
challenge yourself somewhere else.
Needed that new challenge and wanted to get out of her comfort zone with her boxing and stuff like that.
And then you had Ronda Rousey turn around and say, "I'll beat her at the boxing game."
Oh
no. No, you won't. No, you won't even come close to doing that. Now, the WMC, that's the biggest belt that you could win, right?
Well, some people argue that it's WBC. It's between the WMC, WBC, but I think WBC is slowly starting to become a lot more, I guess, popular. Whereas WMC, back when I was fighting, that was pretty much the sought after title that everybody wanted to have.
Yeah. So, and that's the one you've won 6 times.
Yeah.
6 times.
Oh, hang on.
5 times.
4
5 times, and it was the Lionheart against
Lion
fight. That's it.
And then the WPMF, so 4 times.
It's good when you can't remember how many world titles you've won, isn't it?
I don't know if that's because there's 6 or because I'm just getting old.
Now, you went to Vegas.
I did.
And took on, I got to say this lady's name right. What is it? Tiffany Van Soest.
Van Soest, yeah.
How was that going to Vegas? That is, like, as a boxing fan, Vegas is like a prestigious holy ground of the fight world these days, isn't it? Well, even the UFC, all the big boxing fights will go there. You go to New York, you know you're not going to get a decision.
It's that kind of like that lit up place, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
and the
like
UFC
that fantasy kind of land.
The
but
UFC
it's
have
real.
thrown all the big ones there. The boxing have thrown the big ones there for years. You go to
Yeah.
Caesar's Palace. So you managed to get your ass there, go there, and win on American soil against her. She's still fighting.
Yeah,
She's
she's
still going
fighting for
strong.
Glory now. So she's gone to Glory, so she's just doing purely kickboxing now. She's left the Muay Thai scene and she's doing her kickboxing with Glory. But yeah, it was just like I was saying to you before, just knowing who I had to fight and stuff like that. It was just another place that I was going to. Like I didn't actually build it up in my own head as to be, oh my God, I'm going to America, I'm going to Vegas, and I'm going to this huge place, and it's going to be so much pressure because it's America and stuff like that.
You didn't pinch yourself.
Hey?
You didn't pinch yourself at all.
Not really. It was just another place. It was still going to be, within a ring. I still had to do the same preparation. I still had to, get in there and fight somebody. I didn't really want to build up where it was going to be, because then that would just put more pressure on myself. So I just treated it as if I was just fighting here in Perth, and that was it.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Didn't even get to party later because I had to fight a
didn't
month
you?
later. No.
You had one. Oh, I saw the
Yeah.
interview. I saw a post-fight interview for that actually, and you said, you're going back and you're fighting again. You got 4 weeks back on it, and that was what did we say? It was
So the one in
Lion-
Vegas was the lion fight one, and then I came home. I think it was like 5 weeks. I had to defend my title, my WMC title.
Okay, so
within 5 weeks.
if
of
you've won that 4 times or 5 times, did you lose it and then win it back, or what happened?
I just kept defending it.
Oh, right, okay. So every time you defend it, you get classed as
another one. Yeah,
another one. Jesus, okay. And you defended it how many times?
like 4.
4,
Yeah.
and then you relinquished it.
When I decided to have kids, which was a hard thing to do.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
It's a drop in a passion. Most
Yeah,
people
I don't
fight their lives to find the passion, and the fight game. Any sport, I think, isn't it? Any sport, if you play footy or rugby,
at a high level,
yeah, and you find that passion, you make your living off that passion, and then
it's gone.
yeah, well, women have to make different choices to men. Like the choice for you to go off and have a child would be different
It's very hard.
for a male fighter to say we're going to have a child. His wife
Yeah,
does it. He has his
Yeah.
5 minutes of glory, and then she has the 9 months of.
yeah. And in saying that too, like a lot of look at football players, for example, like and they're having kids that they might play their football. The wife has the actual child, but then they can still play the football.
Yep.
Whereas for
Have
us,
to stop.
we have to stop.
Yeah.
Well, potentially stop.
If it's any
There's a lot of mums out
contact
there.
sport like that. It has to stop. Doesn't
But
it?
even afterwards, like if you've had your kids, a lot of people stop, because they've got their kids.
Venus Williams played tennis, didn't she, for a bit when she was pregnant?
Oh, did she when she was pregnant?
She
I
played-
guess it's a non-contact sport.
It is, yeah, but I think she copped a load of crap
Yeah,
for it as
her
well.
at 50%, still probably someone else at 100%.
She's still winning as well. That was the thing.
Like what we were just saying before.
Yeah, there's no stopping her. She's too good. But Daz gave up university to follow his dreams of this
He did.
Muay Thai thing. I respect the hell out of that.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little insight into his story of that?
He was studying, I don't even know why he was studying this, because I haven't actually asked him this. Why he decided to study
Sounds
podiatry.
like another podcast. Yeah.
It's just, he was studying podiatry. He was studying people's feet.
Okay.
That's just, I don't actually know why he was doing that. Anyway.
Because he obviously had an interest somewhere about kicking in the head with them.
Yeah, probably. Well, he was a runner. He was a triathlete before he was into Muay Thai. So maybe that had something to do with it, or I don't know. Maybe he just didn't know what he wanted to do, and that was just like one of those things where you just pick something because you don't know
Pick
what.
a foot.
Pick a foot. Work with people's feet all day. But yeah, he started his I think it was just almost like a little part-time thing out the garage of his house, just underneath. He had like a double garage. He used to do some PTs, and it just took off for him. Next minute, there's people skipping out on the street. There's not enough room, so then he's had to shift the gym to a bigger location, which was just down the road from his house. And that was about 250 square meters. And then that just filled up quickly as well. So then we took the bottom half of that building, and that was about 400 and something combined. And then within a year and a half or something like that, it just took off, and we had to shift to the premises that we're in now, which is like 800 square meters.
That's a nice place.
Yeah, it's a good place. Yeah.
Who does the massage upstairs?
Sim.
Oh, right. Yeah, she said
Yeah,
she was still
Sim, you know
studying.
Sim,
She
yeah.
said she was still studying that when she
Yeah.
was on here,
Yeah.
and that's where she is.
So that's her room. Yeah.
Oh, beauty.
Yeah.
She going all right in there?
Yeah. Yeah, she's
good
good.
on her, man.
Yeah.
Good on her. No.
So then, yeah, I guess he had people along the way telling him that you can't make a career off fighting or from Muay Thai or anything like that, but it's obviously proven them wrong, hasn't he? Because he's done exactly that.
Yeah, exactly right.
And probably more than what he ever dreamed of. I mean, I've seen some of his journals from, there wasn't computers and stuff around in Daz's day. I've seen some of his journals.
If anyone's just listening to this, everyone think we're old as hell.
He's probably,
I found the chalkboard.
I found the chalkboard. Now, he was into journaling a lot and writing out a lot of plans and future plans and stuff like that. And I've seen a lot of them, and they are exactly what he was planning. Like, it just goes to show that what you put in your head and what you see, you can create.
I'm a big believer in the visualization of something. If you want it bad enough, somehow you'll get it. Yeah,
like he's got just bullet points like this many square meters. I want to have this, these people training, like as in like BJJ, like a facility for different kinds of combat sports. I want to have like a massage place there. I want to have fighters and beginners and kids, and then there's like another page that's got all different like names of what he could call the gym, and it's just really interesting to have a look through what he was like thinking. And now I've seen it all come to fruition.
Scary, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really interesting.
What's chapter 2 in that book saying?
And even like little old, before obviously tills, he didn't have tills and all that kind of stuff. He just had this like diary, and he had each day. It was so cute. I feel like he was just like this uneducated person about the books side of it, because he had this little diary, and it was like Monday ingoings, outgoings, Tuesday ingoings, outgoings, and he might have had like 2 PTs. This is at the very beginning. 2 PTs was like $25 for an hour, but then he'd go to Bunnings and he'd spend like $80 on something for the gym, so it would be at a loss of like $60 for that day. And
he mapped it down.
He really did. But it was good to just flick back on that and see like where he actually did start. Like he just literally did start from the bones of his bum.
I got on him. I really get on him.
Yeah.
Really interesting man to talk to.
Yeah.
Outside of not outside the Muay Thai, but away from actually being the fighter, you're now promoting as well. You tell me a bit about that. So what have you got going on?
So we have Epic coming up, and that's our pro show. So Daz and I do that together.
And where's that going to be?
That's going to be at Herb Graham. So that's...
Where's that?
It's in Mirrabooka.
Where's that?
You don't know where that is?
No. Oh, yes.
It's kind of... where would I say it's near? Like Morley-ish kind of way.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That's kind of a suburb that you might know of.
It's further than Coburn. I get a nosebleed.
It's further than Coburn. So that we've got that. That's our. This is going to be our 20th one together, actually. So all of our pro fighters and stuff like that will be on that show. And then I do Evolve, which is just an amateur/novice show for just the beginners and the amateurs and the novices of the sport, just to help them grow. And I do that by myself pretty much. So I did my last one last November. I think I was like 8 months pregnant or something, and I was tossing up whether to actually knuckle down and do it at 8 months pregnant, but I did, and it was awesome. It was bloody awesome turnout, like better than what I thought, actually. I was really happy with it.
Beautiful. Where can people find tickets for this, and where are you advertising to say that your shows are going out?
So we'll probably start advertising like in the next maybe... I'm just doing the matchmaking now, so I've almost finished matchmaking. Just got like maybe about 3 or 4 undercards to go. And then we'll probably start advertising it in about 7 weeks. No, sorry, in about 5 weeks.
Okay. Because I said to you before when I was up last week that I find it hard to sometimes to find where shows are. I'll hear last minute that this is on.
We put ours on Facebook, and we do like a big event page for it and stuff like that. Because
I haven't seen much of anything outside. The big thing that pops up is Thunderdome and then Eternal. But it seems to be that if you're in that circle, then you're exposed to it all, and if you're outside it, it's kind of on the hush. It would be.
Yeah, that's.
I expect to see things because I come obviously from the UK, and I get to see things bang. Yeah, they're pumped right out into your face, and there's no getting away from that event till it's finished.
I guess it just
here it's just like so different.
What we spoke about last week when it comes down to promoting and money and stuff like that, like those big events in the UK and UFC and Glory and promotions like that, they've got such a huge amount of like backing from sponsors and stuff like that. So they do have a lot of money that they can put into marketing and stuff like that. Whereas when it's just a small show like ours, we don't have that huge amount of money to market it and promote it like what they do. It's just not possible.
Yeah, I get that. But a lot of advertising is free. If you can put it on Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, we do all the Facebook stuff and Instagram and all that kind of thing. But when you start to add, like videos and pre-fight videos and all that kind of stuff, it's just all money, and it's
all
just
mounts up.
It's all money out of our pocket.
So how many people can you fit into this venue to watch your events?
Probably like 1,000.
Okay.
And we've had some of the best fighters in the world fight in Australia, and you still get the same amount of people turn up. So it's almost like
it's a funny one, isn't it?
You look at the UFC, right? You look at the UFC, and when people go to the ground, everyone's booing. They don't want them to go to the ground. They want them to stand up.
And beat the shit out of each other.
Mate, you're watching Muay Thai. Just come to a Muay Thai fight show and you'll see exactly that. And you only got to pay $60 to get in. It's not.
Yeah, you're 100% right. What do you think it is then?
It's just the marketing. It's the marketing. They just do it so well. They've got the money and the backing behind it, and we don't have that.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I've asked a few people this and had a few discussions. I don't
think people understand how much it costs to put on a show, like the actual the outgoings that we have to pay.
Because you've got fighters' purses to pay for, international fighters to bring over. Does that mean putting them up in a hotel as well? And they get to bring a coach with them.
Get to bring the coach, hotel, and we've got to give them food money every day.
Yep.
So that's like
that's cheap if they're cutting weight, don't
they? Yeah. Then if there's a title on, we've got to pay for the belt. Then we've got to pay for the sanctioning fees. Then we've got to pay to sanction the show. Then we've got to pay for the ring and the lighting and the staging and the referees and the officials and the ring girls and the DJs, all that stuff, the cutlery, the food, the catering, just all that stuff needs to be paid for.
So is the food and the catering, is that a necessity in shows like that?
Well, we do it for like our sponsors.
Okay.
So we do like a sponsors table, and included on that table is like a buffet.
Okay.
And some drinks. So that's like part of their deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's grown since the first time you did it. Are you seeing it going in the right direction?
Yes and no. Yes and no. It's stayed the same for a long time. Like, I mean, I've been, I don't know how long I've been retired for now, like 3 or 4, not retired, finished, because I had children, 3 or 4 years maybe. And for that whole time, maybe, I don't know, like 40 fights, the same amount of people were still there.
Really?
Yeah. It's really interesting. You just can't seem to get the extra people there.
Yeah, okay. I've seen Thunderdome grow in my eyes from when I first came over with the boxing event.
Yeah.
I know.
But boxing is just more of a... Boxing is just a bit more of a popular sport, I think.
I think it's just...
Boxing, it's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Been around a long time. It's an Olympic sport.
It's got a lot of history, isn't it?
It's got a lot of history. It's boxing. It hasn't grown in terms of people turning up to the venue. It's just the same, really.
There has to be something. There has to be a key somewhere, doesn't there? Fascinating.
Because we've got some of the best fighters in the world in Australia.
Yeah.
It's just...
throwing kicks, elbows, knees, everything that they want to watch in the cage. I get what you're saying.
You can get like
100% get what you're saying.
60,000 people turn up to an AFL game to
watch
someone throw a ball around. And I'm not disrespecting AFL. No. I'm just saying, like...
No.
Imagine if we could get half of these people, or even like a tenth of these people, 6,000 people to a Muay Thai fight. They would love it, because everyone that comes to a Muay Thai fight that hasn't been leaves buzzing every time. They're like, oh, I loved it. Can't wait to come back next time.
Yeah.
It's like I go to a concert or something. I'm like, imagine if we could get all these people just to one Muay Thai show. They'd be loving it.
They would.
But it's like, how do you get them there?
Absolutely would. I have no idea.
Yeah.
And that's why I keep asking people as to what they think it is that it's not boosting, not on the up. And for me, and I can only say it my thing, and I said, I don't see enough of it in my face.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you need to overload people, don't we? To get.
But does that annoy people?
It can, but it puts it out. I think, I don't know how many Muay Thai shows have I seen pop up on my Facebook, and I'm usually in and around that crowd of people that would post these things, but I don't see much of it. But
I guess it's sort of like from October to March, you won't see much too, because it sort of tends to die down a little bit at that Christmas
season sort of thing. Yeah,
sort of. It's Christmas, like it's hard to get fighters to want to train over Christmas and New Year and all that kind of stuff. So it does tend to die down towards the end of the year.
How many shows are you putting on a year?
We're putting on. We missed the March one because I just was like, I don't want to do a show with a 3-month-old child.
That's not going to draw the crowds.
Yeah, we tossed up with the idea, and we decided that we were going to.
Yeah.
And the first thing I went to do was go book the ring, and it was booked out. I was like, I'm not doing this. It's too hard.
Yeah, it's too expensive to buy
it
one
does.
ring. They're thousands, aren't they?
Yeah, it's probably
20 odd grand, if not more.
Yeah, we could probably get one, but it's just the storage of it. We would love to buy one, but it's just storing it. Where would we store it? Because it's,
Yeah.
it's a lot
Big
of
old
stuff.
unit, and then you got to have something to take it to the event as well.
Yeah.
One question that keeps popping up. We're going to skip ahead to this one, and I put a poll up, but I think I pressed the wrong button, and it's only just popped up on the screen. So, people asked, would they like to see you fight again? And somebody posted it up on Instagram because you posted up a post
They'd
earlier
like
saying
to see me fight again, or will I fight again?
Well, we'll open up to both sides of that question. Nobody's going to answer at the minute, I don't think. But they said, the question is, are you going to fight again? That's what somebody asked on your Instagram feed to your question poll that you put out.
Didn't they?
Now, if I
Such
can
a
find my
hard
phone,
question.
you answer that. I'll find my phone, and we'll get to some of these questions that
Such a hard
some
question.
of your followers asked.
Actually, it's not a hard question. It's a very easy question for someone to ask, really, isn't it? It's a hard answer. It's a hard answer for me. Oh, look, to be honest, like I feel like my head and my heart are playing tug of war with this question sometimes, because my head tells me, look, Caley, you're 40 this year. You've got 2 kids. Let's just leave it at what you've done. That's my head telling me that.
Okay.
And then my heart is saying, Caley, you love training hard. Fighting is such a challenge. You love Muay Thai.
Maybe you could draw the crowds.
Maybe, I don't know about drawing the crowds, but maybe you still do want to fight. I don't know. It's like, I feel like I could if I wanted to, physically and mentally. Like I feel like I've still got the ability and the skill and everything. But it would be a matter of giving up time with the kids to actually put the work in to be good enough to.
It's commitment over reward, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Because you said something before.
It's sacrifice. And
Yeah.
I've done a lot of sacrificing in the past, but I haven't sacrificed my kids, you know.
That's a huge sacrifice.
Yeah, it's a
the
huge
biggest
sacrifice.
of all.
Yeah.
And you've said before you didn't want to fight for a world title if you did it again. You just no. So
I'd just be fighting for the love of it, because I love it. And I hear a lot of people say they fight because they want to prove someone wrong, or they want to prove the haters wrong, and all this kind of stuff. That's not the right reasons to fight. You shouldn't be fighting for your ego or for money. You should be fighting because you just bloody love fighting. And that's what will make a good fighter, is someone that actually likes what they're doing, and that not likes, they love what they're doing. Do you know what I mean?
You don't play it.
You don't play it.
No.
You've got to really be in it. And that's what, I guess that's what the hard answer is. Can I be in it 100%? And I don't know. I can't answer that.
11 weeks after having a baby, mind is you might change your mind in another 6 months. Who knows?
Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe. I'm always still active. Like I'm still kicking pads. I'm still doing bag work and all that kind of stuff.
So you wouldn't have it all to do.
No, like I've still got. I know that I can do it. It would be a massive challenge for me to do with 2 kids, because they don't go. I mean, Maddox is in daycare 1 day a week. I don't put him any more than that. So they're not in daycare and stuff like that. So I don't have a lot of time to do things like that. But I don't know.
You got a look in your eye that says you're trying to convince yourself.
Daz says you can if you want. You still have the skill. And then that goes back to the garage talk. But I'm just not sure. I'd have to give up a few nights at home, and I like being home to put my kids to bed and stuff like that.
Priorities change, don't they?
Their priorities change. I don't know.
We'll ask you again in 6 months.
Yeah, maybe.
Now, you sent me a whole load of questions, so we'll flick through quickly. Some of these, I apologise. I haven't got a name attached to some of the pictures that you sent.
I attached the name to the
to the bottom ones.
Yeah, to all the bottom ones. They're actually the ones that I sent you before. They're within that lot there.
All right, there we go. Okay. Who's this one? Lena. That's all it says. Instagram name Lena. How did you deal with injury mentally, and how did you go back into training again after? So that's kind of what we brushed upon with having your sports coach with your shoulder. So I think we might have covered that one. Do you feel like you want to fight again? We've covered that one. Getting in shape again at 30. Do you have any tips? From Helena Elisha.
30. Well, I'm almost 40 and I feel like I'm relatively in shape. So if I'm 40 and you're 30, look, I don't know if that person's active at the moment or whether they're training in Muay Thai or training in CrossFit, but you've just got to get started. It's the hardest, literally the hardest part is to get started. And you've just got to, regardless of how unfit you feel, you know, there's one good thing about being unfit is every session that you do, you get fitter. The thing is with being really fit is you keep wondering if you're getting fitter.
Yes.
So I quite like being unfit because you can feel yourself improving with every session. So if that person's 30 and she's not feeling very fit, she's just got to get started because she should feel that she's going to be improving every day. She's just got to get moving.
Yep. I 100% agree with what you said there. It's just like saying if Usain Bolt wanted to knock half a second off his 100 meters, he would have to work 1,000+ times harder than me. If I turned up there and said, I'll run, and now in 6 months...
You'd get results a lot quicker, yeah.
I'd knock a second, 2 seconds off it.
Yeah.
He would have to go fucking hard to get half a second
And then
off.
there's like even times like with being really fit for fights and stuff like that, I'd get to, you know, fight week and think, am I even fit enough for this fight? I don't even feel like I've got fitter. Yes, Caley, because you are so fit, you don't feel like you're getting fitter because you're already so fit. You can't feel those little tiny little changes. But when you're not fit and you start to train, you feel yourself getting better with every session. And you don't want to stay at that stalemate either too. A lot of people, they train and they just keep doing the same things over and over and over again, and your body just plateaus. You've got to keep pushing the boundaries and keep challenging yourself with different kind of exercise or a different weight or a different amount of kicks or spar someone different or grapple people that are different strengths as you. Like always try and change it up a bit rather than trying to stay at that same
I get that.
Same level.
My fitness.
you'll notice change
my
as well.
fitness kind of lives around that. My fitness lives around. Can I turn up on Sunday and play a game of footy? Can I jump on the mountain bike and go for a good ride?
Yeah.
Can I go out and run 10Ks if we need to? Yeah, we can do it all. I don't
Yeah.
train for anything specific. I train for my lifestyle to work for me.
Yep.
So I like a few beers and I don't watch what I eat every day.
Yeah.
But as long as I can get up and do something.
Yeah,
The
that's
second
good,
I
yeah.
feel that I can, but not to a half decent level,
Yeah.
then I got problems.
Yeah.
But that's how I get through it.
Yeah.
By changing it up.
Changing it up, yeah.
Yeah.
And it keeps things interesting too. You don't want to keep doing the same
I
thing.
get bored because I don't compete in anything anymore. I get bored if I just go to the gym. Let's lift weights. Let's
Oh,
go for a
God.
run. Oh, fuck,
I don't know how people
I
go to the
can't-
gym and just lift weights.
It bores the crap out of me after a while. I can
Yeah.
do it, but I can't do it every day. I can't run every day.
Yeah.
I got to do something different.
Yeah, same. And that's why I think when I finished with fighting, that's why CrossFit has been such a massive, like a great thing for me because it is different every single time that you go there. You're always pushed really, really hard. And it's just that, I guess it's the closest thing for me to fighting in terms of being able to pushing myself mentally and physically, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. This is from Gabby. Oh, what did she say this? Gabby's Fitgram. What kind of modifications did you make while pregnant and kickboxing? I'm a first-time mum, 20 weeks currently, and just trying to listen to my body and do what I can. Are there any warning signs I should be aware of? I need to slow down or take a step back. Firstly, she's listening to her body, so that's a good start.
Hey?
She's listening to her body, so that's a
and
good
that's
start.
basically all you can do. Like some days I could do something and then I go to do it the next day and I couldn't do it. Like for instance with Maddox, I could I could right kick on the pads with Maddox, but I couldn't left kick. So I assumed that when I fell pregnant with Leo, it was going to be the same, but it was the opposite. I couldn't right kick, but I could left kick. I don't know, it's weird. Don't ask me. Don't ask me why. I just listen to my body. And that's the main thing that you have to do. You just have to listen to your body because every pregnancy and every person is completely different and every day is completely different. Some days I could do a burpee. The next day I couldn't do a burpee because I had bad reflux. So it's just a matter of, and they're the kind of signs that you'll get. You'll just get the little, I don't know, the little hint or the little sign from your body saying, I don't want to do this today. And then you'll just stop.
Simple as that.
Simple as that. You can't, because your body won't let you actually do it. Like as I was just saying then, when I tried to kick on a certain side through pregnancies, you'd go to kick and you literally just couldn't do it. It's just weird.
There's a big bump in the way, that's why.
And it didn't even feel like it was the bump. It was just your hips were out or something like that. I don't even know. Like it's just.
Could have been where he was laying in there.
Pregnancy is something that you can't read too much into. Like, you can't get down on yourself about it, because at the end of the day, it's going to end. At 9 months, it's over. So rather than getting yourself down and depressed about certain things that you can't do, just know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel at 9 months, and it's going to be back to normal within like a couple of months after that.
A light at the end of the tunnel.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
A good way to put it. Right. Who we got here?
Yeah, literally. I get what you mean there.
Judy Humber. Judy Humber. Hi, Judy. I have a fight tournament a week on Saturday. This is drawn on a day, just as drawn on the day in case anyone pulls out. The only trainer who could come with me now can't come, so it looks like I'm going by myself. I don't want to pull out as I've worked too hard for it. I'll have help wrapping my hands with someone there, and they will jump in my corner. But do you have any tips, advice as an experienced fighter for traveling, for the most part being solo for the fight? I'm trying not to treat it any different to usual. What do you think I should be?
Like that.
What do you think I should do? Sorry.
So not treating it any different to usual. Obviously, you've been put out of your place a little bit by not having your actual trainer there. Yep. But like I was talking to you before about not having any thoughts of your mind in the ring, that's what you want to have when you're fighting. So if she doesn't have her trainer in the corner, she should be running on autopilot in the ring anyway. So, I mean, I know her trainer's going to be giving her advice, but the main thing that she wants to remember is she's done it all in training. So what she's done in training should be on autopilot in the ring. So whether she has someone there to actually tell her what to do, she's the only person in the ring that can make that difference. So my advice would be don't read into it too much. Don't stress too much that your actual trainer's not going to be there, because when you get in the actual ring, you should be on autopilot. You shouldn't be worrying about whether your trainer's in the corner or whether you've travelled by yourself or anything like that. It should just be, I've done this in the gym, however many months you've trained, 3 months straight. I know what to do. I know how to kick. I know how to punch. I know how to fight, and just and have trust in yourself and have trust in your own abilities. Yep,
perfectly put. And my version would be go watch Rocky 3. When Mickey tells him, just get out there and do it.
Yeah. Because a trainer can only tell you so much, right?
Right.
It's up to you. When you're in there and it's just you and that other person.
They're not in there with you, are they?
They're not in there with you. They're not going to try and fight the other person for you. It's up to you.
I've seen it happen, though.
Yeah.
Right, here's a good one. I like this.
I don't know which one you're going to say.
It's hard to read Instagram names, isn't it?
It's because they're all like...
Marian Alamas. Right, obviously not Australian. Did get him back into training right after giving birth. Did that affect your breast milk production? Apart from making the gym floor a bit slippy. I'm
not even joking, but I am an actual, I think I'm an actual feeding machine. Like, in hospital, I was pumping out milk, and I know I wasn't training at this point, but I was pumping out milk of about... You wouldn't even know what this means, but
I'll just nod.
It was a lot. I was pumping out a lot. I probably could have fed like a few different babies with how much I was producing. So I don't think it affects your milk production, because your milk's produced on how much you feed, I think. Oh, well, look at Leo. He's huge. He's almost double his birth weight, so it's clearly not affecting. Yeah. Yep. No, I think some people have problems producing milk anyway, and that maybe that person's body, maybe their hormones or something like that don't agree with breastfeeding. I don't know. I don't know that too much into it, but I know that I seem to be producing enough milk with the amount of training that I'm doing.
This is a hell of a topic of conversation.
I think we're going to get pretty annoying though, having
let's put it on. We got 6-time world champion Caley Reece in the Refuge chamber with Greg Thomas, who had no kids. We're talking pregnancy, breastfeeding, breast milk. Great. Fantastic. Nothing prepped me for that one. I put the notepad down when all that started. I'm done.
I'm done.
Didn't expect that one.
But too, I'm not a person that stresses out a lot, which also affects stuff like that. So I'm going to go train. Yeah, I got to feed Leo afterwards. I'm just going to feed him. It's all cool. Don't worry about it. Whereas I think some people get stressed about breastfeeding, and that kind of stuff will definitely...
Stressed in what way about breastfeeding?
Just a lot of people's kids can't latch on properly and stuff like that. Look, where are we going?
It's a
with
natural thing, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's not.
Isn't
I mean, it's led to believe that it's a natural thing, but it can take some bloody hard work to get to for you and your child to learn how to breastfeed.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be natural.
Like
isn't it?
Leo was really hard. It took me a good 4 or 5 weeks for him to feed. He couldn't latch on properly at the start. I was every feed I'd spend about 15, 20 minutes practicing with him, and sometimes he would get it and sometimes he wouldn't. And then I'd have to give him express milk from a bottle.
Oh.
It took a while.
Oh, right.
I know we're animals and that kind of stuff comes natural, but sometimes kids just have problems with it. And parents that stress about it stops the production of the milk.
Does it?
Yeah.
The body's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. It really is incredible.
Bloody hell. Just to think about worrying, stressing about something can stop.
Yeah. And apparently,
stop your body producing.
I know we're going way off Muay Thai here, but apparently if your child is sick, your body produces the actual correct, I don't know what you'd even call it, stuff in the breast milk to help whatever that problem is with your child. Like if your child has tonsillitis or something like that, it would produce the correct, milk to help combat that problem. Anyway, back to Muay Thai.
Bloody hell. What happened there?
I have no idea.
I'm hungry now.
Hopefully not for milk.
For milk, though, no. Okay. Caley, that has escalated quickly. He wants to see you fight. It's gone to 100%.
Oh, gosh.
So, that's that. And if I can try my best here, I'll try and get to these questions that are on Facebook, if this works. It's obviously something that's not going to let me do it.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough one. I don't know. I definitely don't feel like I'm about to turn 40. And I know that there are some fighters out there that are older. And I was just talking to this one particular girl, actually. She sent me a message and she was asking, I think it was something to do with having her kid in the gym at night time and whether it was worth it. Can you see what that question was?
Which one was it? Sorry? Motherhood.
The question was whether it was worth, her little girl was 4 years old or something like that. Hang on, let me just have a look. And she wanted to know. She's got mum guilt. Mum guilt. She's a single mum. She's working and training. She's in fight camp and her kid is coming to the gym every night for 2 hours. Yep. Sometimes I look at her and get this rush of guilt that she's living in the gym. Do you get that?
Oh. That's interesting, isn't it?
I do get that. I'm not even training for a fight. Yeah. I sometimes, literally, I only train for an hour a day, and I look over at the kids, and I'm like, oh my God, I should be doing something with them. But then I've had to remind myself that I'm only taking 1 hour out of 24 to do something for myself, to better myself, and to be a fit and healthy person for my kids. So I do understand what she means about mum guilt, and
deep question.
Yeah, I guess she has to weigh up the importance of the fight. I guess her child, who is only 4, she says, yes, most days because I asked her, I said, interesting question. I'll answer this, but can I ask how old your daughter is? And she said she's 4 and she loves it at the gym. So to me, what more of a perfect environment can she have her child around? Her child's 4. It's better that she's at the gym, surrounded by people doing what they absolutely love doing, seeing her mum doing what she loves doing, seeing her mum commit to something. So that shows her daughter, they're good values and good morals to show her daughter at 4 years old, rather than being just at home. That's my opinion on it anyway. So I feel
there's a couple of ways to look at that, right?
She's killing 2 birds with 1 stone, right?
She could be at the pub, drinking beers, chucking an iPad in your kid's hands, saying, shut up while mummy and daddy and whatever have a few beers, get drunk. Yeah.
Or her kid could be in the gym.
I think, and I think she's a lot better off. Now, would people say they still have the guilt about doing that?
It is a guilt.
If it is a guilt, but it could be a good guilt, because the flip side is you could be in that environment. It's the environment that your child is in there, I think, is more than acceptable, isn't it?
Yeah. I look at Maddox, he runs, of course. He runs around the gym. Sometimes I think, is this bad that I've got him at the gym? But then I think, it's a perfect environment for him to be at the gym. He's surrounded by adults, so he is like mature for his age. He's surrounded by kids, so he gets to play with kids. It's just a perfect environment for him to be in. And for her daughter, it would be exactly the same. She'd be surrounded by people that are positive. You know, they're not there because they hate being there, are they?
No.
They're there training for fight because they want to fight. So they love what they're doing. So they're all in a positive and happy mood rather than being in a shitty mood. So I think lose the mum guilt as hard as it is, and show your daughter that us chicks are pretty cool.
Right. You said you wanted to hit around an hour, which we've done. You've got 2 kids at home, like we said, but they're quite ill at the minute. So
they've just got colds, yeah.
Poor buggers. He's a bit young to have a cold. 11 weeks getting a cold. That's a big deal.
One gets one, and then I've heard it. One gets one, the other gets it, and it's happening already.
I had it as well. I had it a couple of weeks ago. I was rough, and then
did you?
Nels has been rough, so something's going around.
Maybe it's a change of season.
Yeah, that's what they said. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was really bad, fevered up, and all sorts. I had the man flu.
Man flu.
Deathly. A lesser man would have died.
Oh God, you and your man flus.
I know they're bad. But it's been an absolute pleasure getting you on finally.
Yeah.
And I wish you all the very best. And
Thank
if you
you
do
very
fight,
much for having me.
I'll come.
Well, there's 100%.
I'll come and boost your numbers for you.
Thanks. Thank you very much for having me.
No problem at all. It's been my pleasure.
Thanks.
Cheers, Kelly.